economics of wheat straw. Where does wheat grow today? First of all, wheat straw is the agricultural byproduct of wheat. Wheat is grown in places where temperatures are warm, about 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and needs to be provided with 12 to 15 inches of water. Wheat is grown all over the world, including the European Union, China, India, Russia, United States, Canada, Ukraine, Australia, Pakistan, Turkey, and more. And these are the top 10 wheat-producing countries in order. In the U.S. specifically, the southern parts grow wheat, including Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska, and Colorado. In the picture below is the top 10 customers of U.S. wheat. You can see that Japan imports a lot of wheat from the U.S., along with Nigeria, Mexico, Egypt, the Philippines, and Korea. How much wheat is grown? Wheat is one of the most cheap and abundant agricultural wastes. The crop to waste ratio is about 1:1, which means that wheat straw makes up about half of the yield of the cereal crop. And the third bullet is showing how much million metric tons of wheat was produced in the last year. So you can see that the European Union was number 1 with 157.98 million metric tons of wheat, and along with China, 130.19 million metric tons of wheat. So you can say that about half of that number is wheat straw. And what products can be made of wheat straw? Most of wheat straw is used for animal bedding and for animal feed. About 40 to 45% of wheat straw is used for farming and for animals. Wheat straw can also be used to make paper towels, toilet paper, and it can also be used in basket making and to make building materials such as wheat straw boards. And these are some pictures. Wheat straw is a source of energy. So wheat straw is one of the growing biorenewable resource. It can be used to make bioenergy because wheat straw offers high greenhouse gas savings when used for energy. And in Denmark, scientists are working on converting wheat straw into energy or gas or fuel. And wheat straw can also be used as bioethanol. In the pictures, the first one is a power plant. The second one is a factory in China that makes wheat straw pellets for fuel. And the third one is another factory picture. Some key characteristics of wheat straw products are that they can be recycled and reused. Wheat straw is made of 38% cellulose, 36% hemicellulose, 60% lignin, and 10% other, which means that they are sturdy and strong, and they're also lightweighted. Some benefits to users using these products are that they can help save the world, they can be eco-friendly, and these products do not produce a lot of toxic chemicals. They are also renewable and sustainable, and they also help the farmers by making new revenue for them, and people can start using locally manufactured paper. Processing wheat straw. What's the manufacturing process for the major products produced from this plant? To process wheat, farmers plant the crop in the fall and harvest it in the spring. And about half of the wheat straw is processed in farms and used to feed animals and for animal bedding. So once again, about 40 to 45% of wheat straw is used in farming and for animal feeding and bedding. And the other half can be burned for fuel, gas, and other things such as bioethanol, and processed in factories to produce products such as paper and wheat straw boards. And where are these products made? Main factories of wheat straw are placed in China and the United States. For example, in North China, the China Tai Sanmin Woodworking Machinery Company. It's one of the most popular wheat straw board producing company, and I shared a link, and it's a YouTube video of the process of their company's process of making wheat straw boards. And also in Denmark, wheat straw is used to make bioethanol gas, to heat districts, and many more. Denmark is one of the most wheat straw using companies. Germany and some other countries are setting them as their role models to use more wheat straw, because studies have shown that wheat straw can produce a lot of energy because they offer a lot of greenhouse gas savings. And some environmental impacts of processing wheat straw is that, of course, air pollution. Burning wheat straw can produce carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxides, which are cancer-causing agents. And also, acidification is a problem. Some social impacts of processing wheat straw: if more wheat straw is processed, there will be more jobs for people. And an economic impact of processing wheat straw is that wheat straw is very cheap and very abundant. So it costs less to produce energy with wheat straw than with other materials. And on the left is a picture of pollution, and on the right is a danger poster with toxic chemicals. In the future of wheat straw, wheat straw is likely to be used constantly. It's one of the slowly growing biorenewable resource, but it also needs more experiments and trials to be done. And why? Because wheat straw is very cheap, very abundant, and it's also biorenewable. And some future uses of wheat straw is that wheat straw bales and pellets for bioelectricity. Wheat straw pellets is a source of solid biofuel that could be used in the near future. And as I said earlier, Denmark is one of the most wheat straw using countries, and countries like Germany are setting them as a role model. And if you're interested, the slide before had a link with Denmark's plans for producing energy with wheat straw. On the left is a picture of wheat straw pellets, and also Ford is the first automobile company that is using wheat straw for their auto parts, and they are looking more into it to use more wheat straw to make their auto parts in the future. Factors that are currently affecting wheat straw. The main factor is weather. Wheat straw is very very sensitive, I guess, and it needs the right conditions to grow. And natural disasters such as floods, tornadoes, winter storms can affect a lot of the growing process of wheat straw or wheat. So it is very hard to predict the future for them. And the major changes in the next 10 or 20 years, if weather permits and wheat production is successful, more wheat straw may be used in creating energy, gas, fuel, and others. In conclusion, growing biorenewable material for future uses, which means that wheat straw is one of the growing biorenewable material for future uses. But processing wheat straw can be very expensive, and wheat straw itself is not costly, but it is also hard to predict the future because of weather and other natural disasters. And in the future, wheat straw can be used more and be more successful if more research can be done. And currently working in Denmark, other countries are citing Denmark as their role model because Denmark is trying to use as much as wheat straw they can to produce bioenergy. And lastly, wheat straw is the future for auto parts and for bioenergy. For example, the automobile company Ford. Thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Arvind Verma. Today I will be talking about one of the most important biological resources in the agriculture industry. You might have guessed it, that is wheat straw. Wheat is one of the most produced crop in the world, and according to the United States Department of Agriculture, 735 million metric ton of wheat was produced all around the globe. I even also have a map which shows how which country produced how much. As you can see, the darker means it produced more, and the lighter means it produced less. So China being the top one, and after that it was India, then Russia, and then US, and then Canada. I'm just gonna read out the figures because it's quite small and you might not be able to see it. China produced 130 metric million tons, India produced 88, Russia produced 61, and United States produced 56 million metric tons in 2015. That's correct. That is a lot of wheat, right? So, have you ever imagined we consumed that much wheat in a year? And so, assume like when the wheat is harvested, a part of it is left behind as a waste, right? The plant residue. You must be thinking like, how are we gonna get rid of that much of waste? So, and wow, that is actually a lot.